And sometimes just listening, you have to have someone in your life that you can just listen, who will just listen to you without interrupting, because it's just you getting everything out is good for processing, and not having a judgmental person in your life. Like you were saying, it's hard to talk to friends. It's good to, it's, well, unless you have a good friend who's just going to listen, right? Listen and let
Yeah,
you go on. Just go on to, for as long as you have to. Because the other thing is when we talk to friends, when we get advice from them, we're getting their life experience advice, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
then, and then you're having, we're dealing with our stuff, and then plus whatever our friends' ideas and solutions thrown at us, which aren't necessarily the right ones, because who knows what they have been through in their past and why they came up with their solutions for their life. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
But
And
but that's why I was
when
saying,
you,
like, when you
sorry, go on.
no, and so when you finish the session, what I was getting at before, what I was asking is, does it feel better after you have gone in and talked to someone? Like, how do you feel? How do you feel when you go home? I remember what I felt like. I'll tell you later, but I just wanted your experience. After leaving a session, do you feel better, or do you go home with open wounds now that you just revisited and had to tell your story again to someone, to a therapist, and your hour's up and you have to go home?
I think me, I don't know, therapists, they have other people to see and they have to stick to this schedule, but sometimes it can take a while to build up to what it is you want to talk about. So by the time you get to talking about what's painful, the session can sometimes nearly be up. So especially when you've had therapy before and you've had to start repeating yourself all over again, it does get to the point sometimes where you think to yourself, is this actually doing me any good? Is this actually helping? What's the point? I still feel like hell. I still feel the way I do. But I think all I can say really is it depends on the therapist and how good the relationship with the therapist is. But there's still that case of that. I think there's no consistency, is what I'm trying to say. You could
Hmm.
have a load of sessions with someone a year or two down the line, something happens that puts you right back there again. And then you have to see a different therapist, and then you have to go through it all over again. So I think it depends how you feel after a session. I think it depends what's going on for you at the time and how you're feeling at the time. Sometimes you can leave a session and think, I'm really glad I spoke about that. Then other times you think to yourself, God, this is exhausting repeating myself.
Hmm. Yeah. And it can get exhausting because you remember when I first told you about my my issues with panic attacks and anxieties for over 20 years, right? Therapy didn't help me. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying there are people that therapy is great for. If you're going to therapy, go ahead and continue with that. For me, that didn't help. Like medication didn't help. I've made videos about this. Nothing helped me. I was afraid to take medication because when you have anxiety and panic attacks, you start getting health anxiety. You start worrying about, oh my gosh, is like this medication going to do this to me? So I was just afraid to even take vitamins.
Yeah,
But none of that. And sometimes I used to come out of sessions feeling worse because I would open up and then I'd have to go home and deal with my thoughts, everything I just talked about. Um,
yeah,
so I'm wondering if it's more maybe that people should be looking for like a solution-based therapy where they have, sure. So this, say it's a psychotherapist, psychiatrist listens to you, but they have some sort of technique or something they do in their office to help alleviate, because surely just talking about it sometimes sure makes you feel like you've gotten things off your chest, but then what? Then we're wondering
yeah.
now what? And that's what would be with me, like now what? Like what do I do now that I talk to you? Like I'm still leaving your office, my heart's pounding. I just told you my whole like life story from childhood. Um, and then you're right, and then there are triggers that happen, you could feel better, let's say, and then something may happen 3 months down the line because you really didn't heal. you felt better, let's say, you didn't really heal, and then all of a sudden you've got a trigger, something that triggered you, and then I would go back into this loop of panic attack and anxiety just when I thought, oh, okay, something happened in that therapy. But it just felt to me like it was just being all swept under the rug.